The animatronics featured in Five Nights at Freddy's 6, officially known as Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator, represent a culmination of many narrative and design ideas developed throughout the earlier entries in the Five Nights at Freddy's series. By the time this installment takes place, the animatronics are no longer simply mysterious mascots wandering through restaurants or experimental entertainment robots hidden in underground facilities. Instead, they embody the long and complicated history of the franchise's fictional companies, tragedies, and technological experiments. The characters appearing in this game are often damaged, salvaged, or reconstructed forms of previous animatronics, and their physical conditions reflect years of neglect, destruction, and repurposing. Because of this, analyzing the animatronics of Five Nights at Freddy's 6 requires examining them not only as mechanical designs, but also as symbolic remnants of the franchise's past. One of the central figures among the animatronics is Scrap Baby, a reconstructed and heavily altered version of Circus Baby from the previous installment. Scrap Baby's design demonstrates the concept of survival through mechanical reconstruction. Her body appears assembled from mismatched parts, wires, and exposed metal pieces, suggesting that the animatronic was rebuilt using whatever components were available. Unlike the polished and theatrical appearance of Circus Baby in the underground facility, Scrap Baby looks crude and dangerous. Her most striking feature is the large mechanical claw attached to her arm, which emphasizes her transformation from a stage performer into something resembling a predatory machine. The change in design communicates that the animatronic is no longer meant to entertain anyone. Instead, she exists as a survivor of earlier events, continuing to function despite severe structural damage. Another important animatronic in this installment is Molten Freddy. This character is essentially a tangled mass of wires, endoskeleton parts, and fragments of animatronic shells. Molten Freddy appears to originate from the same combined mechanical structure, previously known as Enid. After internal conflicts between the personalities that once shared the Enid structure, the remaining components formed a new entity dominated by the identity of the bear mascot. The resulting animatronic looks unstable and chaotic. Loose cables hang from the body like exposed muscles, and the face resembles a broken mask attached to a constantly shifting mechanical mass. From a design perspective, Molten Freddy represents the idea of multiple animatronic systems fused together beyond their original intended configuration. The structure seems less like a single robot and more like a collective organism made of salvaged machinery. A particularly significant figure among the animatronics of Five Nights at Freddy's 6 is Scraptrap, another incarnation of William Afton in his animatronic form. This character continues the visual tradition established by the earlier springlock suit associated with Afton. However, in this version the suit appears even more deteriorated. Pieces of the costume fabric are missing, revealing the mechanical frame beneath. The structure looks fragile and partially collapsed, as though the animatronic has barely remained functional over time. Scraptrap's design conveys decay and persistence simultaneously. Even after catastrophic events that should have destroyed the suit, it continues to move and operate. This reinforces the narrative theme that the central antagonist of the series repeatedly returns despite attempts to eliminate him. Another animatronic introduced in the game is Lefty, which at first appears to be a simple black bear mascot with a minimalist design compared to the more damaged characters. However, Lefty's role is more complicated than its appearance suggests. The animatronic was created as a containment unit designed to capture and hold the puppet, also known as marionette. From an engineering standpoint, this implies that Lefty contains specialized internal mechanisms intended to trap and suppress another animatronic entity. The outer shell is deliberately simple and stable, possibly to maintain structural integrity while housing the captured figure inside. This concept introduces a fascinating mechanical idea within the series: animatronics designed specifically to contain other animatronics. The condition of the animatronics in Five Nights at Freddy's 6 is especially notable because most of them appear salvaged from previous disasters. Burn marks, torn fabric, exposed wiring, and mismatched components are common across their designs. This gives the impression that these machines have endured fires, dismantling, and years of abandonment. Rather than building entirely new animatronics, the narrative focuses on collecting what remains of earlier creations and bringing them together in one final location. The damaged appearance of the characters visually communicates the long history of the fictional entertainment company and the consequences of its past decisions. The gameplay structure of Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator also contributes to how these animatronics are perceived. Unlike earlier games where the player begins already trapped in a dangerous situation, this installment initially presents itself as a business management simulation. The player builds and decorates a pizzeria, purchases equipment, and manages finances. However, hidden within this seemingly harmless business simulation is the process of salvaging animatronics found in abandoned locations. Each salvage attempt involves examining a damaged animatronic in a dimly lit room while determining whether it is safe to bring into the building. This mechanic creates tension because the animatronics appear inactive at first, but may suddenly move during the evaluation process. From a narrative perspective, the act of salvaging animatronics serves an important purpose. The characters are intentionally gathered into a single location, suggesting a deliberate plan to bring together the remaining figures connected to the tragic history of the company. Each animatronic carries a piece of that history. Scrap Baby represents the legacy of the underground circus-themed machines. Molten Freddy represents the combined remnants of earlier animatronic personalities. Scraptrap represents the persistent presence of the main antagonist. And Lefty contains the puppet, a character associated with protecting the spirits of victims. Bringing them together in one place symbolically unites all the unresolved elements of the story. Visual tone of the animatronics in this game is darker and more final than in previous installments. Earlier animatronics often retained some elements of their original cheerful designs. In contrast, the characters in Five Nights at Freddy's 6 look like the last surviving pieces of a long-forgotten era. Their damaged suits and exposed machinery suggest that the illusion of friendly mascots has completely collapsed. What remains are broken machines carrying the weight of the events that shaped them. Ultimately, the animatronics of Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator function as both characters and narrative artifacts. Each one reflects a stage in the technological and moral decline of the fictional entertainment company responsible for creating them. Their reconstructed bodies, unstable mechanical structures, and salvaged components emphasize the idea that the past cannot simply be discarded. Even damaged machines continue to move, and the history attached to them continues to influence the present. Through these animatronics, the game presents a final gathering of the series' central mechanical figures, bringing together the remnants of earlier stories in one concluding confrontation.